Ever think about just how much it costs to make a successful video game these days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, beyond just like building the game itself,
Yeah,
it's the marketing
the marketing.
and figuring out what players actually even want.
It's astronomical. Like you
Yeah,
hear about companies like Supercell spending millions a day on ads.
right.
That's so much pressure to get it right from the start.
You really can't afford to mess up and misunderstand your audience.
Exactly. So I was super intrigued when I came across this article.
Okay.
It's called Predicting Gamer Preference with 85% Accuracy.
Wow.
And it basically talks about using AI to figure out what gamers are going to want before you even spend all that money.
Interesting. So, like, before you go through all the trouble of development and marketing, you could sort of have a sneak peek.
Yeah. And it's really cool how they did it.
Okay.
They used this tool called Rally to create these AI personas, so like virtual gamers, basically. And they tested to see if those preferences actually match up with what real players think.
Wow. That actually kind of reminds me of that guy, James Kramer.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him? He used to run that mobile game studio Skunkworks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he was known for this incredibly detailed testing process.
Right. I think I read somewhere that it was so good he could almost predict if a game would succeed or flop.
Yeah, and that kind of precision is what everyone wants, but the resources it takes.
It's just too much for most people.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why this AI stuff is so exciting. Maybe it can give everyone access to those kinds of insights.
Right, and level the playing field a bit.
Totally. So today we're going to take a deep dive into how accurate these AI predictions actually were.
Right.
Can AI really tell us what gamers prefer, and what does that mean for developers and marketers who don't have, like, endless budgets? Maybe even you listening right now.
Yeah, I mean, imagine getting those valuable insights without breaking the bank.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
How did Rally actually build these virtual audiences?
Well, they had this thing called virtual audience design,
Okay.
and it all starts with defining a target audience profile.
So, like, what kind of gamer you're trying to reach?
Exactly. Like the demographics and all that.
Okay.
Then they use OpenAI's GPT-4o model.
That's like the really powerful AI, right?
Yeah, like the brains behind those really smart chatbots and all that.
Okay.
And they use that to generate 50 different AI personas.
50. So like 50 AI gamers.
Yeah. Think of it as a virtual focus group.
That's actually pretty impressive.
Right. And this whole process, they call it personification.
Personification.
Yeah, so basically you're creating these synthetic gamers from a bunch of data and characteristics.
Interesting. So instead of interviewing real players, you have these AI stand-ins.
Exactly. So they've got their virtual players.
All right, so what was the first test?
Okay, so the first experiment was all about character design.
All right.
For this conquest MMO called Seaborn.
Seaborn, okay.
Yeah, they gave the AI personas 2 different character designs to choose from.
Okay.
One was realistic, kind of like a Pixar style, and the other one was more blocky, with lots of angles.
Interesting.
Okay, and they asked, which of these character designs do you prefer and why?
So trying to understand which style would really resonate with players?
Exactly. Like, how would the visuals impact the feel of the whole game?
Okay, so did they compare those AI results to real players too?
Yeah, they used data from PickFu, that user testing platform.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So real gamers had already given their opinions on those same character designs.
That's perfect for comparison then. So what did the real players think?
Okay, so the PickFu results show that 86% of human players preferred the realistic style.
Wow, that's a strong majority.
Yeah, only 14% went for the blocky one.
Pretty decisive. Did the AI agree?
Yeah, they did. 96% of the AI personas chose the realistic design.
Even more than the humans.
Exactly. So the AI definitely identified the winner correctly.
But it also seems like it was even more confident about it.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point. Like, why was the AI so much more sure?
And did they say why they liked that style?
Yeah, the feedback for the realistic design said that people liked how polished it looked.
Makes sense.
And they thought it would appeal to a wider audience.
Okay.
While the blocky style was often compared to Minecraft.
Which, nothing against Minecraft.
Well, yeah. No, it's a huge success.
But not really the same vibe as this Conquest MMO?
Yeah, totally different.
Okay, so character design was the first test. What else did they try?
So the next Seaborn experiment was about theme preferences.
Themes, okay.
Yeah, they gave 4 different visual themes. Cartoon, anime, sunset, and island.
Okay.
And they asked both the AI and human testers which theme they'd be most interested in playing.
Interesting. So it was less about specific design elements and more about the overall aesthetic.
Yeah, like which style would draw you in the most.
Gotcha. So what did the human players prefer?
Okay, so the humans were a bit more split this time.
Okay.
Cartoon got 18%,
Yeah,
anime 10%.
right.
Sunset was the most popular at 44%, and Island got 28%.
Interesting. So Sunset and Island were the top two for humans.
Uh-huh. What about the AI?
Yeah, what did those virtual gamers think?
Well, Rally's AI personas also chose Sunset as the most popular,
Okay.
but they were way more into it.
Really?
Yeah, they gave it a whopping 66%.
Wow. So more than half the AI personas were all about that sunset theme.
Yeah. Island got 20%, anime got 14%,
Okay.
and cartoon, 0.
0. So no AI wanted to play a cartoon-themed game.
Nope, not a single one.
Yeah.
Pretty big difference from the 18% of humans who liked it.
Yeah, huge difference. So again, the AI got the winner right, but it seems like they really exaggerated the popularity of Sunset.
Yeah, and the article talks about how these synthetic audiences can develop these high conviction preferences.
That conviction preference.
Yeah, like they get really strong opinions, almost like a very vocal minority in a human focus group,
Okay.
even if the majority might feel differently.
Interesting. So like the AI might overemphasize certain options because it thinks they're amazing.
Exactly. And in this case, it looks like they miss the appeal of that cartoon style.
Yeah, that's a pretty big miss.
And it shows that even advanced AI is still learning to really grasp all those nuances.
Right. Like what makes something appealing goes beyond just data.
Yeah, you need the context, the why behind the choices.
So what was the why for the sunset theme?
Okay, so the main reason people liked the sunset theme was because it made them think of action and adventure.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like they could really imagine themselves playing in that world.
I can see that.
But the article also pointed out that the anime and sunset styles might have been a little too similar.
So maybe some people got them mixed up.
Yeah, that could have definitely skewed the human results.
That makes sense. Okay, so those were the two Seaborn tests. Did they do any experiments with other games?
Yeah. The next one was for a game called Goblin Quest.
Goblin Quest. Okay.
And it was also about theme preferences.
All right.
But this time they were looking at variations of the goblins themselves and the background colors.
Okay, so more subtle than the Seaborn tests.
Exactly. Like they had friendly goblins versus red-eyed goblins, and then green backgrounds versus purple backgrounds.
So like mixing and matching to see what worked best?
Yeah. They had options like bright sky, purple tower, green forest, and purple forest.
Interesting. So what did humans think of those goblin themes?
Okay, so for the humans, the bright sky theme was the most popular.
Yeah, okay.
It got 42% of the votes.
All right, and that was the one with the friendlier goblins and the brighter background, right?
Yeah, exactly. Purple forest came in second with 22%.
Okay.
Then green forest with 19%, and purple tower with 17%.
All right, so bright sky was the clear winner for humans. What about the AI?
Well, in this case, Rally did really well in predicting the winner.
Really?
Yeah. The AI also picked bright sky as the top choice.
Okay.
It gave it 40% of the votes, which is really close to the human 42%.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. But they still had some issues with those high conviction preferences.
Yeah, just like with the Seaborn experiments.
Okay, so what did they overestimate this time?
So this time, the AI predicted that purple forest would get 32% of the votes,
Okay.
but it only got 22% from humans.
All right, so another overestimation.
And they also underestimated purple tower, giving it only 12% compared to the human 17%.
So similar issues to before. And I bet the article mentioned something about the visual similarity between Purple Forest and Purple Tower.
You got it. The article suggests that because they looked so similar, the AI kind of lumped them together.
Okay, so even small visual differences matter when you're dealing with AI.
It seems so. And what's interesting is that the human feedback for this one showed a real split in preferences.
Oh.
Yeah, some people were really drawn to that cheerful, bright sky aesthetic,
Okay.
but others were more into the mysterious vibe of purple forest.
So like different player types wanting different things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is always a challenge to figure out, even for AI.
For sure. Okay, so they had those 3 experiments looking at themes. Was there anything else they tested?
Yeah, the last experiment was also for Goblin Quest,
Okay.
but this time they looked at ad preferences.
Ad preferences. Interesting. So like which ad would make someone actually want to play the game?
Exactly. They had 3 different ad images.
Okay.
One featured a solo goblin.
All right.
Another showed a wide shot of a bunch of goblins.
Okay.
And the third one showed a team of goblins.
Interesting. So which one did the humans prefer?
Okay, so the humans really liked the team image. It got 46% of the votes.
Okay, so showing a group of goblins was the most appealing.
Yeah, seems like it. The solo goblin image got 38%,
Okay.
and the wide shot got 16%.
All right, so team was the clear winner for the humans. How did the AI do?
Well, this is where things got really interesting.
Ah,
Yeah, the AI absolutely loved the solo image.
really?
It gave it a whopping 88% of the votes.
88%. That's like the opposite of what the humans thought.
Yeah, team only got 12% and wide got 0.
Wow, that's a big miss.
Yeah, it was the only test where the AI got the top preference completely wrong.
So it seems like even though the AI did well overall, it's not perfect.
For sure, there are definitely still some kinks to work out.
Did they have any ideas about why the AI was so off on this one?
Yeah, the article mentions a couple of possible reasons.
Okay.
One is that maybe the solo and wide images were too similar visually.
Okay, even though the humans seemed to tell them apart.
Yeah, it's possible the AI had trouble distinguishing them.
Interesting.
But the other, more intriguing possibility is that the way they named the images might have influenced the AI.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, in the human tests on PickFu, the images didn't have labels.
Okay.
But when they set up the AI test, they used the labels solo, wide, and team.
Ah, so maybe the AI got fixated on the read solo and thought that was what it was supposed to choose.
Exactly. It's a really good example of how even small details in the way you set up an AI test can have a big impact on the results.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so what about the human feedback on why they liked that team ad?
Well, yeah, it seems like they really like that hero theme.
Okay.
You know, focusing on a single goblin character.
Right.
But what's interesting is that the zoomed-in solo image actually did better with humans than the wider shot.
So they liked seeing the hero up close.
Yeah, and that suggests that maybe a good chunk of that audience is into the idea of solo gameplay.
Makes sense. Okay, so they had those 4 experiments.
Uh-huh.
What's the big takeaway? How accurate and reliable were these AI predictions?
Well, overall, the results are pretty promising.
Okay.
Rally correctly predicted the winner in 3 out of the 4 tests.
So 75% accuracy.
Exactly. And even more impressive, the AI's preferences matched up with the human votes 85% of the time on average.
85%. That's really good.
Yeah. So while it wasn't perfect, it generally pointed them in the right direction.
That's really encouraging, especially for people who don't have a ton of resources to spend on testing.
Totally. And even though we saw those high conviction preferences pop up a few times.
You like that 88% for the solo goblin ad.
Exactly.
It's kind of like what happens in real life too, right?
Yeah, you always get those really strong opinions from certain groups.
And the article also talked about the importance of calibrating these AI audiences, right?
Yeah, you need to compare what the AI says to your own past data.
Okay, so like making sure the AI is actually reflecting your target audience.
Right, understanding where it might be biased or where it might miss things.
So it's not just about blindly trusting the AI, it's about understanding its strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. So even though it's not perfect, what do you think are the advantages of using a tool like Rally?
I think it's huge, especially for indie developers or anyone with a limited budget.
Yeah, the cost is way lower than traditional market research.
The article said it was like 20 to 100 bucks a month.
Yeah, that's way more manageable than hiring a whole team of researchers.
Totally, and you get results so much faster.
For sure. So you can test ideas early on, see what works, and then maybe do more in-depth testing later.
Exactly. It's like getting a quick gut check before you invest a ton of time and money.
Makes sense.
And I think it's especially useful in those early stages of game development.
Oh yeah, for sure. Imagine you're designing a game and you're not sure which art style to go with.
Or which themes to focus on.
Exactly. You can use Rally to test those ideas really quickly.
And avoid going down a path that players just aren't into.
Exactly. Potentially saving you tons of money and headaches down the line.
Yeah, because a failed launch can be devastating.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think the big takeaway here is that AI-powered testing has a lot of potential.
I agree.
It's not perfect, but it's getting pretty darn good.
Yeah. And that 85% average accuracy is pretty impressive.
It really is. So as you're listening to this, think about how this could apply to your own work.
Yeah, even if you're not in the gaming industry.
Exactly. Could you use AI to get feedback on your ideas?
Maybe test out different marketing strategies.
Yeah. And how might this change the way we think about market research in the future?
Definitely something to consider.
It's a really exciting time to be following this technology.
Sure, lots of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I'm excited to see where this all goes.
Me too.
Welcome to Rally, your virtual audience simulator. Rally lets you ask almost any question to entire crowds of role-playing agents, each with their own unique background context. When you prompt in Rally, Your questions get answered by all of the agents within your audience at the same time. The responses are then synthesized into a helpful summary, but you can drill in to the individual responses from your personas, copy them, or you can export the entire chat to a CSV. Each session is saved, so you can return to it later and continue the thread, and the personas maintain memory within each session. This means you can ask follow-up questions, such as get an opinion scale, or even ask what these personas would need to change a prior vote. You can even ask them to give feedback on something visual like an image. The personas cannot see each other's responses, and it's by that way we avoid groupthink. And to reset memory, you just need to start a fresh session. Designing your own audience is as straightforward as adding a description and clicking generate. You can generate more than one persona at a time, tweak the audience description to align your virtual audience characteristics with that of a real audience, edit your personas, or clone via text. This lets you create audiences quickly based on text from LinkedIn profiles, autobiographies, script content threads, reviews, transcripts. Anything that you can get into text can theoretically be used to generate personas. You can also download our CSV template and use our bulk import method, which also supports cloning. And then once you save your audience, it will be available in your hub where you can either ask questions or export so that you can import it into the account of another user that you're supporting. With that said, give us a try today and let us know what you think. Happy prompting.
Step into the simulation, a virtual audience of role-playing characters, each with a unique perspective. This is more than playful fantasy. Welcome to Rally, a private crowd feedback platform designed to offer swift, authentic insights. Within these digital personas, you can pose nearly any question. Is your marketing pitch resonating? Does your design spark delight? Here you receive direct, honest feedback, free of the echo chamber and groupthink often found elsewhere. Marketers validate campaigns before launch. Innovators refine product concepts. Entrepreneurs test prototypes across broad or niche specific digital audiences, all in a safe and private environment. Rally's simulated panel never tires and remains ready to guide you toward sharper, everyday decisions. By combining simplicity with insights from the crowd, Rally removes the barriers between your questions and your answers, all the wisdom, none of the scars.